believe in the ripple effect.
What's up? Another episode of Ripple Effect Podcast. I'm your host, like always, Ricardo Varendes, and today we have a great show. I don't know why I say my name like that. I just think it sounds better when I say it the Portuguese way. But I'm also known as Ricky Varendes, and today we have Chris Bell. Amazing show. I love when I have the ability or the opportunity to be a part of sharing such important information, and we definitely do that today. The co-host, my good friend, sister-in-law, Liz, who is directly also involved in some of the topics we talk about today. And Chris Bell is a filmmaker. I'm sure you probably have seen some of his documentaries on Netflix or Amazon, or seen him on the Joe Rogan podcast or Lance Armstrong's podcast. He's been interviewed everywhere. So really interesting guy. Always picks really important topics for his documentaries. His first one, Bigger, Faster, Stronger, is about steroids. His second one, I might get him out of order, but I believe Trophy Kids was the second one, and it's about the pressure that parents put on their children when they want them to succeed in sports. Then you have Prescription Thugs, which is obviously about big pharma and addiction, which super important documentary. I mean, one of the few documentaries that really had me, my eyes watering at certain parts, just because he really shows you how it personally affects people and family and friends and himself. And then he has new documentaries that he's working on. One on this plant called Kratom, and then this other one that he's just in the process of I guess, getting things together for about the ketogenic diet. But we talk a lot about Kratom on this podcast. Last time he was on the Joe Rogan podcast, he talked about it too, because the DEA was trying to make it illegal. I think anytime there's a plant that's kind of unknown and the popularity starts increasing, people get scared. And, me and Liz talked about after the show, how do you describe it to somebody? If you say, hey, maybe take this Kratom stuff, I think it would be beneficial for you, or give it a try. People are like, what is it? And if you call it a supplement, then it kind of has, people think that a lot of supplements are bullshit and they don't work. So they might be pushed off by it. And then if you called a vitamin, also vitamins, sometimes vitamins don't work or whatever. So I like to call it just a plant, because I think one thing we forget, that a lot of vitamins and minerals and stuff, a lot of the stuff are just extracts from things that grow in our nature, grow naturally. And I think it's much less scary when we look at it that way. So if you're listening to this podcast, you're not familiar with Kratom, it really is just a plant. And obviously there's different qualities of it and different companies that sell it, and we talk about all that on the show and how important it is to find the ones that are credible and test their product. But I won't talk too much about it, because we talk, I think, a lot about it on the show. I think probably the majority of our conversation is about Kratom. And if you or a friend or a family member have issues with pain, depression, anxiety, and all these other symptoms that Kratom could really help with, listen to this podcast, get some more information, and give it a try, because it doesn't have any side effects like most vitamins and minerals and plant medicines. And worst that could happen is that you spend a little bit of money on something that doesn't work, but it's definitely worth trying. So with that said, remember that anytime somebody calls in using video, the video version of our episode will be on our YouTube channel. You can just look up the Ripple Effect Podcast, you'll find it, or look up RV Theory 6, which is the name of the YouTube channel. All our video episodes are on there. And then also we have a Patreon page if you want to support the show. all that money goes to keeping this thing going and continuing this podcast so we can keep having great guests like this on and talk about really important topics. What else? I think that's about it. I'm on Instagram. You know, recently I started an Instagram page if you want to follow me there. Sometimes showing ketogenic diet recipes and foods that I'm eating. And of course, your occasional selfie, because who doesn't do that on on Instagram? But also, if you're intrigued with diet, nutrition, check out some of the past guests I've had on. CJ Hunt, who's the documentary filmmaker who did The Perfect Human Diet, another phenomenal documentary. Nancy Gabberty, who's a functional medicine expert. I've had her on twice, phenomenal podcast. Dr. Gregory A. Smith, who is a addiction specialist and did the movie American Addict. He's been on. Dr. Brzezinski, who has been curing many people of cancer since the early 90s and has a very historical battle with the FDA, and his documentary about his story and his fight with the FDA is also phenomenal. So check all that stuff out if you're into health and nutrition, all that stuff. And I think that's it. So I'll cut this intro here and enjoy the show. It's a very important one. So if you do enjoy it, if you think this is important information, forget Patreon. Almost more importantly, share the podcast. Post it anywhere. Share it. Upload it anywhere you want. All my work's open source, so feel free to do that. So finally, I swear this time, that's it. Take care, guys, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace. What's up, Chris?
What's going on?
Thanks for being with me. Sorry about the confusion yesterday.
No, it's all good, man. I just was like, oh yeah, 5 o'clock would be good, and then I didn't realize that you said Eastern time back, and whatever. It's all good.
Yeah, it happens. Well, obviously I'm Rick, but this is my friend Liz is co-hosting with me. She's actually one of the first people I ever heard talk about Kratom, and she's huge into it. Has been using it forever. I feel like we have endless things we could talk about because one, I'm a huge fan of your movies. It's you know, Bigger, Stronger, Faster is a classic, and a lot of guys like yourself and I who were weightlifting and looked up to the Ronnie Colemans and the Cutlers and stuff like that. I think it was great to have a documentary that spoke honestly about the issue. And then Prescription Thugs that's phenomenal, and how personal it was. I've had Dr. Gregory A. Smith on, who did the movie American Addict, and I've had Mariana Van Zeller, who did Oxycontin Express. But I think the one thing those films were missing was it was missing the personal story, because I think it's really easy to talk about the issue, but until you see the families and, in your case, the actual people that were affected by this, I think it's much harder for it's easier for people to dehumanize them and say, oh, they're just addicts or they're low lives or they're whatever. And when you see that these are average people and this could happen to anybody, then I think it makes it it connects with people differently. And Liz has also had her family. I don't know how personal you want to get, but she's had a direct connection to addiction with her family and stuff like that too. So I'll leave it up to her how much she wants to talk about. But because it is such a personal issue, that's why my hat goes off to people like yourself who really are willing to talk about it and talk about depression and talk about addiction, because it's something, I've dealt with depression, Liz has, you have, and I think that people get a lot out of somebody talking about it, because the amazing thing when you do talk to people about it, you're amazed that they felt the same way. And the same way I think we like depressing music, because it gives us a sense of, oh, somebody else is going through the same thing I'm going through. When we talk about it on podcasts, when we talk about it in documentaries, I think there's a lot of people who are touched by it, because they're like, holy shit, somebody else is also going through what I'm going through. Because it's easy to feel like you're in a bubble and you're alone and whatnot. And then besides all that, I'm also a huge fan of the ketogenic diet. I've had Dominic D'Agostino on, and and I love what you're doing, and I know you're working on a documentary with your brother on it. So I don't even know where to start, to be honest. And I started this podcast because I'm a Joe Rogan fanboy. So
I can tell you right off the bat, things that I think are changing. Your friend Liz behind you is very smart for being involved in Kratom, in the world of Kratom. we have this documentary coming out called A Leaf of Faith. I've been working on it for about a year and a half. I really think that Kratom is going to be the cure for the opiate epidemic. There's a lot more that goes along with sobriety than just Kratom. You know, you have to want to be sober. You have to want to be off drugs. You have to, you don't have to go to meetings. It's all bullshit. When you go to AA and they say, oh, you got to come back or you're going to slip up. It's like, you know, I don't buy into all that. All I buy into is the fact that you have to want to get clean, and you have to want this. And then there are things like Kratom that can help people just not feel so shitty, you know? And so I think as we walk into this realm of sobriety, a lot of people are scared. When I did Prescription Thugs, I was brand new to sobriety. I didn't like really know anything about it. And I was scared. I was scared to even try something like Kratom. And Kratom's been the answer for me. Kratom for me has been a salvation and a solution that's completely changed my life, because even, you know, just forget the pain aspect of it. Just the depression and like losing my brother and all that shit. Like some days you wake up and you just feel like shit. You just feel depressed, you feel bummed out. And with something like Kratom, like I don't feel that way. So I'm not starting off on the wrong foot. And then also it's taking away my pain. So I'm, you know, taking care of that without taking Advil and Tylenol. So I think that, I don't know, I just think this new film is the most important thing that I've done moving forward. I think that it's timely. I think it's actually like way ahead of its time. I think that, I don't know. I'm kind of proud that I'm the first one to make a movie about Kratom. Just like I guess I was the first person to make a movie about steroids, and it was probably 10 years before its time, also.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, that's one thing I definitely give you so much respect for, diving into these very controversial and taboo topics. And I mean, one thing I love about you is you're passionate about the topics. And the other thing too is like you'll do a film and you'll be researching for the film, and then I'll hear you on interviews and you'll still ask questions. Instead of coming off like, oh, I'm this pompous expert now because I did a film on the topic, you're still willing to learn. And I think that's so important to...
I think, yeah, you always have to you have to have what I call white belt mentality. I learned it from my friend Fabricio Verdum, who's probably one of the baddest men on the planet. He was the first guy that ever beat, who was the crazy Russian that he beat? Fedor,
yeah.
First guy to ever beat him. And he told me though, like we were in Thailand, and he was asking me questions about making movies, and he said, you know, I'm just a white belt, and when it comes to making movies, and I was just like, you know what, that's fucking awesome. I'm like, why do you say that? And he's like, you just have to have a white belt mentality. You need to be humble in order to learn, and blah blah blah. So I just said, you know what, that's it. Like that was actually like a year ago. Like I'm adopting that in every aspect of my life. That like I'm just a white belt. Like I don't know shit. And it is true. I think like the more I learn about something like the ketogenic diet, then I'll meet Dom D'Agostino and realize I don't know shit. And then I got a million questions for Dom, and he doesn't even know the answers to it. So I realized like, well, maybe he's thinking the same thing, and he's got to find somebody else that knows more. And that's how we grow and we learn, and we come up with all this great knowledge, is like to be open-minded and just sort of go with the flow, you know?
Oh, absolutely. We're social creatures, and I think that we find we're in our most happiness when we're in a community, when we're together. And you know, you look at just how the human species has evolved. It's because we're willing to share knowledge. That's why we surpass other animals, because, you know, I might know how to kill an animal, you might know how to carve it up to eat it. So then we come together and we share our talents, and we survive because of it.
I think you're right. And so like, you know, I would love to tell the story of how this whole Kratom movie happened. It's really kind of crazy, and it's because of my awesome friends and my awesome like network of people, and like the movies that I make, and how organic shit really just is, right? So my friend, now my really good friend Kelly Dunn, he owns a company called Urban Ice, and it's a Kratom company. And you know, he had seen Prescription Thugs. Now he's friends with my friend Horseshoe, who in Prescription Thugs, like I took 90 pills a day, bro. He was Luther Reigns in WWE. He was like a fucking madman. He tells this story. I wish it was in Prescription Thugs. I think it's probably in our Kratom movie. I'm not sure, but he tells this story about how he was going 90 miles an hour on the freeway, and he got this ticket in the mail, and he opened up the ticket, and it was him driving in his Corvette, but he was sleeping. And he was sleeping because he was on opiates. And that's how fucked up he was. That's how, how much of a mess this guy was. But anyway, long story short, he got sober. He had a stroke. He got sober. And then he had found Kratom. And he was telling me, like, hey, bro, you got to try this Kratom stuff. It's amazing. You're not going to believe, how good it works for my pain. And he had a stroke and everything. So it's like, okay, well, I know he can't take painkillers anymore, so maybe he's right, whatever, I'll try it. So one day I'm training at my brother's gym up in Sacramento, and he just shows up. Well, he told me he was going to show up. He's like, hey, I'm going to come to town. I want you to meet my buddy that owns this Kratom company. He wants you to try it. So I met this guy, Kelly, and we started talking, and his whole goal, his whole idea was like, look, I know you made prescription thugs. I have this product that I think can help people get off of opiates. Maybe you can like push it a little bit. Maybe it's something that you would like, And at first I was like, no way, dude, I can't touch that. Like there's no, So I started like learning more about it. It took me like a good 3 months before I actually went back to him and I said, we need to make a movie about this. This product, whatever it is, I don't know, whatever you gave me, has taken away all my pain. It's just made me, on a different level, like basically taking away my pain and also made me feel great, And so the way that the movie came about was strictly out of the process of like wanting to help people, just a general like, I want people to know about Kratom. But what was weird is when I first started doing the documentary, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna make this documentary, but like, I don't even know where I'm gonna put it because like, there's really no controversy here. There's no drama in it. It's just this like, gonna be like almost an infomercial about Kratom. 3 months into it, wouldn't you know, the DEA comes along and says, we're gonna make this a Schedule I drug. And we were like, it's on, motherfuckers. Like, let's, like, we're making like, now we have a documentary. Like, to me, it's funny because, I don't know, people get so scared and nervous when things happen like that. And to me, I was like, that gave me a reason to become part of this grassroots Kratom thing, to get involved with the Botanical Education Alliance, or the BEA, and the AKA, which is American Kratom Association, sort of get behind those groups and help them push to get some documents signed. They had like, I think 52 senators sign a letter to keep Kratom legal. And a lot of that happened all through your boy Joe Rogan. So when I was on, I'll give you a little story about the whole Joe Rogan thing. So I was texting Joe Rogan back and forth, and it got to a point where they were about to make Kratom illegal. They were gonna like decide in a couple days. They had a website up, it was called kratomcomments.org. They had about 5,000 comments. The day I went on Joe Rogan, they had 7,000 comments. And I went on Joe Rogan. I said, I think they got like 7,000 comments or 5,000 or something. And I'm like, but if people go there now and they fill out a comment and blah, blah, the DEA has to read it. Well, people just went fucking crazy. And they flooded the DEA. And the DEA had, I think, 23,000 more things to read through after the Joe Rogan show. So I say like Joe Rogan saved Kratom, basically, because after we did that show, like everybody just went on the internet and blasted, the DEA and said, there's no reason why this should be illegal and blah, blah. And, people really spoke their mind. And I think that that's important. I think it's important that people get behind stuff like this.
Yeah, it's amazing how he uses his fame and his, the attention he gets for so many great things. I mean, for your,
To tell you the truth, I think I used his fame to help my cause, but I know that my cause is the right thing, because I would never do that to Joe. Like, you know what I mean? I would never use somebody's platform to help boost my own platform. But when I know that my platform, what I'm talking about, is going to save millions of people's lives, Liz knows, like, she's nodding her head back there because she knows, like, it. I'd love to hear your story, by the way. It takes a lot of people's lives, this opiate epidemic, and we can fix it.
Yeah, do you want to share how you got involved with Kratom
Yeah, so I've been taking about 4 years, and it just started from, I was rock bottom, didn't know where to go, and all the things that you're supposed to do when you have depression, like go out running and eat healthy. Well, when you're depressed, you can't do. You can barely leave your apartment. So all I could do was Google, and I'm searching and I'm buying anything that says is legal and will help with anxiety or depression. And then Kratom shows up and I try it, and I had to double check to make sure it was legal because it was amazing. It opens the door for you to live a normal life and to not.
So you thought it might have not been illegal just because it worked so well?
Yeah, there's no way this is legal. I mean, weed isn't legal.
Yeah, there's some days where I sit there, I'm like, this is awesome. You
Yeah.
know? And like I said, that, you know, I'm with you. Like in the beginning, I was like, how is this legal? And then there was a while where I teetered back and forth going like, well, you know, for addicts, maybe if addicts got their hands on it. And then, you know what I did? I did what Chris Bell would always do. I said, screw it. I just started taking like 10 at a time. I started taking 20 at a time. I started taking 30 at a time. And I'm like, I'm going to see if this kills me, you know, basically. And every time I take more and more, I think I got up to like 30 pills before I had a stomach ache. And that's about the only side effect I had.
Yep.
So when I tell you it's safe, it's like, I guess I did throw up from it, but I took 30 pills to throw up. Like, you know, I did have diarrhea from it for 3 days, but it took me 30 pills to do that. So when I tell you it's safe, you know, up to a point of like 30 capsules, that's kind of a lot, you know what I mean, for somebody to ingest. And I wouldn't recommend that to anybody, but I feel like if I'm going to recommend something to somebody, I need to know myself what it's going to do. Like this ketogenic diet, I've been doing it for over a year, you know, and I've actually been doing it for over 20 years. And basically, my brother and I are going to get up in front of the world and say, hey, stop eating sugar, stop eating starches. It's bad for you. It's killing us. It's making America fat. They say like by 2020, we're going to have an 86% of America's going to be overweight or something like that. It's like, it's just insane. And we can like reverse these things, just like we can reverse this opiate epidemic. These things aren't hard to fix. But when you're going to get up in front of the world and you're going to say these things, you better have your shit together. You know, you better be proud of what you're saying, and you better be right.
Yeah. Well, that's what I love about the topics you choose, because, you know, the ketogenic diet, documentaries have changed my life. The keto diet has changed. I mean, I've had, similar to you, I've had bad joint pain for a long time from like squatting and playing basketball growing up. And I just had the worst. And then just removing the sugar and carbs from my diet, just, I mean, almost completely. And I still take my glucosamine and stuff like that, my vitamins, but that was never enough. And just cutting out the...
And again, it's like not necessarily for everybody. Like it's not necessarily like everybody has to do that, right? When I say like we want to get people to stop eating like sugars and starches and whatever, I don't necessarily mean like everybody has to stop. Like, you know, we look at people go, oh, well, like what about the Japanese? They eat a ton of rice. And, you know, I would say that they exist despite of it, not because of it. You know what I'm saying? Like, so like maybe it's not the best way. Like if you actually look at what things like rice do to your blood glucose and how they work. So what I want to do is I want to re-educate America, just like Kratom, just like opiates. I want to re-educate America on pain relief. I want to re-educate America on how to eat, because to tell you the truth, I had a really bad relationship with food. I was addicted to everything. I would eat candy all day long. You know, I was the guy who made bigger, stronger, faster, and I ate like shit every single day, and try to take steroids or take thyroid medication or something to mask the fact that I was eating bad, you know, to try to stay in shape. And that's just not the right way to do things. So now I was like, okay, now we figured out the right way to do things. Let's actually preach that to the world.
Yeah, and you know, the thing is, like you said, it's not. I tell people all the time, I'm like you, where like if I find something that I like and something I think works and can help people, I want to share it with people. You know, and I remember when I had Dominic D'Agostino on, like I opened up the show with my intro saying, hey guys, today we're going to talk about the cult I've been trying to get everybody to join, because you know, I kind of feel like I'm a cult leader because I'm constantly talking about it. But I'm
you know,
not.
I say this, I've always felt like that, man. Like, look, my favorite band ever is Metallica, and I always felt like I had to like stick up for them. Like, I'm like, no, Metallica is the fucking best. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm always telling people, like, when I went to film school at USC, it's the best film school, you know, probably arguably in the world. And so when I went to school there, I'm trying to tell people, like, you guys don't understand. Rocky is the best movie ever made, and here's why. And people, they don't want to hear that shit. You know what I mean? They have their own opinions on things and stuff like that. So I've always felt like the underdog, and I've always felt like the guy that's like pushing the weird thing. So I get where you're coming from.
Yeah. Well, and the big thing is too.
You're like, why? Why do you care so much?
Yeah.
Because I'm a guy. That's why. You know.
Well, yeah. Well, Metallica and Iron Maiden were like two of my favorite bands growing up.
You got to fight for Metallica a little bit. You know?
Yeah. Maiden. Yeah. Well, you know what it is. It's like anytime. I feel like when a band's small and it's intimate, you know, because it's like, oh, let me show you this band, and then once everybody knows who they are, then it's like now it's like they're not cool, they're not hip anymore, they're not that underground band anymore. You know,
this album is actually really good. So
which one?
The Metallica's latest album.
Oh,
it
really
is.
Good. It is actually. It's funny. I tweeted that when it came out. I'm like, I don't care what all you Metallica haters say. I'm like, this new album's actually really good. You know, because.
Yeah.
It is. It's heavy and it's dark. I mean, you know, bands are going to change with age. I mean, look how long ago they've been playing. You know, it's you can't expect them. You figure, you know, I have people my age. You know, I'm in my early 30s, and I have people my age or older talk about like, oh, getting old sucks. And I'm like, not really. I'm like, I like the 32-year-old me more than I like the 22-year-old me. I have things figured out a little bit more than I did, and you know, 10 years from now, I'm going to say the same thing. So I'm like, getting old's not the worst thing. And
because wherever you are, you think you have it figured out, and then you realize you don't know shit.
Yeah.
That's why I say like we're saying, like what's great about making these documentaries and having that white belt mentality is like the more you learn, the less you know. You know, it's like you don't really know until you never really know. Like I think like, oh, I got all these answers, and I'm gonna put it in this documentary about the ketogenic diet, and then I might flip around and say exactly the opposite and say, hey, remember I said eating rice was bad? Like now I think it's the only thing that you should eat. You know what I mean? Like that's how screwed up nutrition is, or how, you know, we don't know if we know the answers yet, even, you know?
Yeah, well, it's a very complicated topic. I mean, I was probably like you when you were growing up, and we're eating every 3 hours. We weren't really paying it, you know, getting the leanest cut of meat, and you know, all this stuff. And now you find out that like dietary cholesterol has no effect on your cholesterol. High fat, you know, fats are good for you. Salt really doesn't affect your blood pressure. All these things, you know, and Gary.
Going about it all wrong, and then like you have all these people who are walking around dehydrated because they don't eat salt because we were told salt was bad.
Yeah. Well, Gary Taubes does a great job documenting all this stuff and just really, you know.
I see if I'm in ketosis right now.
Are you checking?
There's a keto meter, yeah. I'm checking it now. So.
Do you take any like keto canna or any of the ketones? You know, mix it with Well, I'll let you. I shouldn't be asking questions while you're trying to breathe into that.
The exogenous ketones.
Yeah.
You know what? I actually just ordered some. I have some coming in. So see, it's blinking green, which means that's a mild ketosis.
Oh, that's pretty badass.
Yeah, I mean that's mild keto. It should be yellow, more yellow, but. I don't know. Maybe I didn't blow into it long enough either. Sometimes I feel I'm blowing it long enough.
Yeah,
that's what the measure is with the blood. And actually, there's a new blood testing meter coming out that's cheap because the blood testing is not very affordable. It's kind of expensive and.
Well, you look great, man. I mean, you look super lean. I mean, it's you know, I remember when I first started seeing.
It's not hard. I'll tell you the truth. Like, it's actually what I want to show people is like. Getting lean, getting in shape. Like all I do, I'm 44 years old. I have 2 fake hips. I lift like kind of hard, but like, you know, I mean, compared to what my brother does, it's garbage. You know what I mean? Like I'm not really lifting. I'm going in and putting in like 45 minutes a day of weight training maybe. And then maybe like an hour of cardio, which is just walking, you know, there's no intense cardio. There's no, like I'm not like pushing a sled or flipping tires or doing it. I'm just walking, like literally on the street, just walking. And I think a lot of people like discount that, you know. And so my brother started this hashtag 10-minute walk, and he's just, you know, because he's pretty jacked and shredded, and he's just saying like, hey, look, I just after every meal I walk for 10 minutes. And it just stokes your metabolism. Like, forget about eating 6 times a day. Just when you do eat, walk for 10 minutes afterwards. Watch what it does to your body. And he's right. It's like actually, like every time I eat something, I walk for 10 minutes afterwards. It's no big deal. Like, you would be shocked at how easy it is. Like, you literally just walk out your door and just go for 10 minutes and then come back, and you wouldn't even know that the time went by. You know.
Well, that's like even those little decisions you make daily, like taking the steps instead of the elevator, like all that stuff adds up. You know, it adds up. And
when you get used to the 10-minute walk, you just do it. And then like what's really great is that when you're around your friends, it becomes a thing. And so like, you know, usually like you'll get done eating with a group of friends, and like now everybody's keto that we're friends with. So we get done eating, we're like 10-minute walk, like let's go. And everybody's, you know, you have this group of like 10 people on a 10-minute walk. The other day it was me and Brian Shaw and Smelly. Brian Shaw is like the world's strongest man. We're like walking around the streets of Vegas, you know, on a 10-minute walk because, you know, he was in with us, you know, he was with us. So he had to join in, you know.
But even outside the exercising part of it, like you said, just being together, hanging out, talking, you know, like
it's camaraderie. Yeah, it's fun. I think like a big part of the way that we do this documentary is going to be to make this ketogenic diet fun. Like the stuff that I make, like I'll give you an example. Like tonight, like right now, I'm so excited because I just cooked up like a giant flank steak that I made like sous vide style, which is like this awesome way to cook if you do like keto. It's kind of like boil in a bag in a way. You basically take like a Ziploc bag and you put it in a pot of water with like the meat in it, and then you stick this thing down it, like circulates the water and boils it. And when it cooks that way, it makes the meat is like so tender. It's like amazing. So I made that, and then I'm gonna make like a no carb pizza, which is amazing. Like I found these pizza crusts that are made out of cauliflower and Parmesan cheese, and they have like 1 gram of carbs in them. So I got that. That's like the base of it. So it's gonna have like a couple carbs. Like that's the base of it. I have like a no sugar tomato sauce that's, you know, got maybe 2 carbs in it, and then cheese maybe has 1 carb in it. Yeah. So I'm gonna make a pizza, and I think it's gonna be pretty damn good. So I get excited about these things, you know, and I think that that's like part of getting people to join in and get people involved is to make things fun, you know.
Yeah, well, you know, I drive my wife crazy with that rule.me website. I'm always like looking at shit on that, and we do like the no pasta lasagna. We do we've done the keto pizza, and they even make I forget the name of the company. Me and Dominic D'Agostino were talking about it, but they make a small like
the no good pizzas.
Yes, yeah, same thing. I think. Yeah, I think
there's a ton of it, and you could make like fathead pizza. Like if you Google almost anything, like I make ice cream. My ice cream is so good. Joe Rogan was talking about my ice cream. And I make ice cream that's so damn good. It's like I have it in my freezer right now. It is better than like anything on the market. So actually what I've been doing is talking to people like Quest Nutrition and some other companies about actually marketing this ice cream because it doesn't have carbs in it, which is kind of amazing. So I don't know. I just think like now my mindset is like we can do anything, you know? So it's like anything that I think of or anything that it doesn't have to be a movie anymore. It's like if we come up with a product or idea, I have my brother who has a multi-million-dollar company. It's easy to bring things through him. And so we're just trying to grow, you know, in general as the Bell brothers, you know, both of us trying to do things together and sort of grow things together as well, you know.
Well, I love what your brother does with his gym. Liz, you probably don't know this, but at his brother's gym, he owns a gym, no headphones. And the one thing, it's funny because my whole life since I've been working out, I get a lot of shit for socializing at the gym. They're like, dude, are you going to work out? And I'm like, one of the most enjoyable things for me at the gym is some of these people that I've gotten to know and I've gotten to meet, and I've had some of you know, I always tell people, I'm like, I can have a good workout. I can make up a good workout like tomorrow, but I might be in a really good conversation that I might not have again. And so I'm going to hold on to this and I'm going to capture this. And so sometimes if I'm in a really good conversation, like I'm not going to cut it short so I can do another curl, you know, which I can do tomorrow and whatnot. I'm like, because we might be.
It depends on the gym and the mindset and the whatever. Like, I mean, it's like in a commercial gym, I feel like when people are like, bro, you're not being serious. It's like, well, you're not serious in the first place. You're at a commercial fucking gym. You know what I mean? When you're walking to like something like super training, like if you're just gonna hang out and talk in super training, you'll just get mowed over. Like you wouldn't exist there, but you wouldn't talk there either. You'd be like, I know that this isn't the spot for that, you know. So like, like I mean, at his gym there is no headphones and there is camaraderie, but like it also is very serious. You know. When you do that though, like I do that all the time in Gold's Gym. like bullshit with people. It just wouldn't fly in super training. But my brother's gym's also free, so he can do whatever he wants in there. He has, you know, the rules are like sort of whatever you want it to be. But I sort of agree with that. Like, it depends. I mean, if you're in there and you're fucking training back, and I'm a filmmaker, like, what do I care if I'd rather have a conversation with somebody than be stuck in my stupid workout that I've done. You know what I mean? Like, there's a certain point where, like, do you have to take it so seriously to get a good workout in? And like, even in like super training, like, they fuck around more than anything. It's just like, you just never stop working. Like, that's sort of the rule. It's like, you can talk all you want, you just keep going.
Yeah.
And it's like, you talk right through the set. So like, if you're gonna bullshit and have this great conversation that you're talking about, you better be getting some fucking push downs in while you're doing it, you know? Yeah. And that's just sort of how it is there. And I love that kind of feeling.
And that's much.
Every time I go to super training, I feel like I lose 5 pounds and get in better shape. You know?
Well, I like that concept because I've heard you and your brother talk about how a lot of gyms, people walk in with the headphones and they just ignore everybody, and it kind of, you lose this community, you know. And you know, like you said, even if you're talking and working out,
I understand why the girls do it. Like,
yeah,
you know?
Yeah. If I forget my headphones, then I turn around and I go home.
It's like, yeah, like Liz is gonna face all the dudes being like, "Hey, what's going on? How you doing?" And then like, you're like, you know, I just really actually want to work out, like, you know. So I think that, you know, it's funny because like in super training, there's guys there, there's girls there, and everybody just gets along because like everybody just really does have a common goal. Like, it is funny, like, if a guy did hit on a girl there, they would get fucking ridiculed so bad that like they would never show up again, you know what I mean? So it's like there is kind of like a weird camaraderie. People treat the girls like they're sisters, you know, kind of thing there. And you know, you don't see that in a lot of gyms. So I understand why girls would want to wear headphones in most gyms, you know.
well, the reason I bring it up too is because I think when you're dealing with addiction and depression, a big thing is community. I mean, I think even AA, some of the reason why it works is because you know, you're around people and you get to talk to people and people you can relate to. So a lot of people, you know, if you're having, I mean, I'm sure growing up you were a lot like me. If you're having a rough day, it's like I couldn't wait to go to the gym and get some of that out.
My entire sobriety was like, so I went to rehab in Malibu, California, which is absolutely beautiful. And I went to rehab out there, and at Cliffside, Malibu was an awesome place to be. And the thing was, though, like, it was so awesome being there, but the only place I ever wanted to go every single day was Gold's Gym in Venice. And so I would go to Cliffside, we would go through like our whole thing, and then like all I wanted to do was like get to the gym and train. And so I get to the gym and train, and then I didn't want to go to the AA meetings, but we were required to go to the AA meetings. So I went to the owner, who was in my movie, by the way, in Prescription Thugs, and I said, like, I don't want to go to the AA meetings. And he's like, what do you want to do? He's like, you need to do something mindful, like you're an addict. And I'm like, well, look, I've been actually sneaking off and going to the gym every day. He's like, well, he got all excited. He's like, oh, every day? I go, yeah. He's like, you've been going to the gym every day. I go, every fucking day I go to the gym. I don't want to go to the meetings. He's like, that's your thing. Go to the gym. And I'm like, oh, I can do that? And he's like, yeah, just don't tell anybody. You know, because he ran the whole place. So he's like, don't tell anybody, you can go to the gym. And so for me, that was like a big sort of like leap forward, going like, oh, I don't have to go to the meeting where it's like, hi, I'm Paul and I'm a drug addict every fucking day. I can't hear that every day because it's gonna send me backwards. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And so while I love to help those people, I'd rather have those people approach me one-on-one. I can proudly say that from being on the Joe Rogan show, I think I would say I've probably helped a person a day since I've been on there in like November. You know what I mean? Like literally, like I would say maybe a person every other day. I mean, that's a lot of people though. That's a lot of days absolutely. In between. I was on there in like November. But I mean, people email me. Sometimes I get 5 a day. Sometimes
just
I get,
from me.
You know. Yeah, but you know, the people, but it's not people like you.
Yeah.
The people that I'm helping are the people that say, I can't afford Kratom. I don't have any money, but my friend Kelly owns a company. So what we said on Joe Rogan was like, if you can't afford it, and I'm saying it here on your podcast too, if you can't afford it, hit me up. Like, go on Instagram, and just like the people with the balls to say, hey, I need some help, and I want to try it or whatever. I just send it to them, and they get the box and like, holy shit, I can't believe like you actually sent like full bottles of it. And I'm like, yeah, well, that's what we're doing. We're trying to help people. We're trying to spread the word about Kratom. We're trying to get people to understand it's not dangerous. It's not scary, So when I tell people like, hey, I'll send you some, like I'll send you guys some for sure. Just send me an address to send it to. And I would, because here's the big problem, and Liz, you should definitely know about this. The issue with Kratom, and it's going to come out in my film, is that there's a lot of people in Thailand and Indonesia making a lot of money off of the fact that Joe Rogan talked about this plant.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
So talking about capitalizing on people in a bad way, right? It's like, so you got all these scam artists that aren't testing their product. Now, Urban Ice, the company that I'm friends with the owner, Urban Ice, the only reason I decided to do a movie about Kratom, the only reason why I was working with this guy was because when we started talking, I'm like, well, do you test all your product? And he's like, yeah, absolutely. I'm like, is it GMP compliant? And first of all, I thought he was not going to know what that meant, and that just means good manufacturing practices, which you have to have in order to have a supplement company. He's like, oh, absolutely, I've been to GMP school. So I'm like, oh, this guy knows what he's talking about. Like, maybe, he might be legit. So I went and I checked out his company. I checked out his paperwork. I looked at everything and go, like, wow, this is legit. They test for mold, bacteria, salmonella, E. coli, right? And I'm like, how many companies in the Kratom business test for this? He said, I think I'm the only one. And he said it costs about $4,500 a batch to test. And he's like, that's why, I think that we need to talk about this in the documentary. And I'm like, are you kidding me, dude? Like, this is what the documentary needs to be about. The reason why the FDA and the DEA want to shut down Kratom companies isn't because of any sort of like grand conspiracy that it's like opiates. It's because the Kratom companies aren't following the rules, and they know that.
Right.
And they're sort of the most egregious about it. And you have people like this company, VivaZen, saying that they make, we made $100 million on Kratom. Okay, well, you made $100 million selling Kratom. It's unregulated. You haven't tested your product. People are saying they're getting sick. Like we need to properly do all this. You can't, and you'll see this on some of these Kratom packages. In my mind, you can't ethically sell a product that's aimed to consume that says not for human consumption on it.
Right, which most of them do say.
You'll see it on a lot of Kratom products.
Yep.
It means they don't test it,
So I'm part of a Facebook group, a Kratom Facebook group. It has 30,000 members. And there's a list of, I think, about 12 different companies that are vetted vendors that pass different type of whatever regulations.
What is that community called? I would love to check that out.
So it's an acronym. It's NACU, and it stands for New and Current Users.
Okay.
It recently got shut down by Facebook, and they had to delete a lot of stuff, a lot of good information to be able to come back up. But they are back up and running, and it's a great resource for people starting out, people who have questions, people who have an autoimmune disease.
I'm in a weird spot with Kratom because, like, I'm a filmmaker, so like I'm in the middle of the whole thing, so people in the Kratom community love me.
Yeah, they all do.
Other people hate me. The people that are selling it and making money off of exploiting people and not testing their product, those people are going to hate me. And I think the people that are using it, like even like in the beginning, I even read after I went on Joe Rogan, this fucking asshole, blah, 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 right? And I'm like, look, all I'm trying to do is get you safe and tested product. Right. And when people realized that, when people were like, oh, wait a second, the reason why Chris is making a big deal about this is because people aren't testing it. I think people woke up. I mean, look, I'll say it right here and now, and you can say it in your Facebook group. I just got Christopher McCurdy, who's the top doctor in the world. I got him a $50,000 check to do a study on Kratom, and I'm going to get him $50,000 more in another couple weeks.
Wow.
So we're making shit happen. You know
That's
what I mean?
awesome.
So people in the Kratom community will love me because we're gonna bring in millions of dollars to this cause, and like that shit's gonna be everywhere. Like literally just today, I have a product being shipped to me because if we're gonna make this movie and we're gonna move forward in this movement, I want to have a product that I can recommend to people. So I have a product that we're actually formulating with my friend who I made the movie with and everything, and we're gonna go forward in marketing that with the movie because why not? Like I'd rather have a safe product that everybody knows is safe and tested. It's on the market and it might be more expensive, but like here it is and we offer it, and if you want it, here it is. You know, that's sort of the way I'll go about it. You know, it's like I won't cut any corners with it.
Yeah, well, even just being in the Kratom Facebook groups, I'll get multiple messages a day from people in different countries saying like, hey, you know, Venmo me this money and I'll ship you Kratom. And there's a lot of scammers out there, and it really needs to be regulated.
Now, in all reality, like you could buy probably a big, huge thing of Kratom and you could probably use it and you could probably be fine.
Maybe.
But
Yep.
you could also die, you know what I mean? It's like, to me, I don't know. It's not that expensive. It's pretty cheap. It's like, if we get everybody to regulate it, then everybody will regulate it. You know what I'm saying? Like if we don't police it and we just like let it slide to get cheaper, like the prices will always eventually come down. The consumer will always eventually win. So even if in the beginning, like, oh, my Kratom's a little bit more expensive because it's getting tested, it'll eventually come down. It'll eventually be fine, you know?
I find that the vendors that are vetted are actually the cheapest, because the people that are out to make a buck, you know, they don't care and they have these flashy sales. And I was paying triple the amount just going through a vendor I had found. And then when I was in this group and looked at their places and their prices, I couldn't believe it because they're in it to help people.
I know, like, for example, Urban Ice, right? They take a lot of shit for different reasons or whatever, but they just came out with a product called Indoleaf.
Okay.
And it's just a bulk Kratom product, so it's a powder, and it's like I think it's like 500 milligrams and 1,000 milligram bottles or whatever. And so they came out with that to compete with all these people on Reddit. Like it's very cheap. It's going to be like, you know, because it's not in capsules, so it's just super cheap. So they're basically like, hey, if all these people on Reddit are gonna like give this cheap price, we're gonna give you a cheap enough product that you'll, you know. So they're basically just trying to get people to get off the Reddit shit and use a tested product. Right. You know, so that's actually coming soon. I think it's actually offered right now. I think they have it on their site right now. But it's just a cheaper option for people that like to make tea. I know some people like to brew up a tea and, you know, just use the powder. So.
Right. I just mix it with water and lemon juice, and I'm good to go.
Yeah.
Is that what you do?
Is that what you're drinking now?
No, that's different herbs.
But
what's the different herbs?
Well, I can write them down, but I can't pronounce them. Like Mira Puma and ashwagandha and.
Are you doing all sorts of like weird stuff like that?
Yeah, that nobody knows about. And that's why it was so awesome hearing you on Joe Rogan, because that was the first time I heard anyone publicly talk about Kratom.
Now, is Kratom like, to me, right, I feel like I've taken every supplement in the world, and to me, like, Kratom's like one of the only ones I ever feel.
Right.
Now, do you feel a lot of these other things that you're talking about, or you just kind of like think they work? Because I know like a lot of stuff, like even Tim Ferriss was raving about this 4-sigmatic mushroom mix, lion mane, like, oh, it gets me so focused, and I'm like, I bet you it doesn't stand up to Kratom. And so like I took a shitload of it and it didn't do anything.
Really?
So I don't know.
I have found things that, I mean, I'm always mixing and experimenting. I have found things that help with different
Really
things.
the only one that really ever did it for me, like ever, the things that I felt are Kratom and ephedrine.
Okay. Yeah, Kratom is definitely number one. I mean, for a lot of different ailments.
Well, it's funny that you say that people who want to use it or try it.
That works, you know?
Yeah, that too. But you how you want to give it to people so they can try it, because it's had such a strong effect on your life. Because the same thing with Liz. I remember the first time I brought it up, and you know, and talking about having you on the show, and I'm like, Liz, you should go. She's like, you haven't tried it? She's like, I'll give you some. I'll get, like, shoots exact same reaction. She wanted.
What's so weird is like, some people like, yeah, like I don't know, like it's weird because I have people that take supplements all day like you, right? And I'll be like, yeah, you gotta try Kratom, bro. And I'm so fired up about it that like when I'll tell somebody, they'll be like, whoa, I don't know if I want to try that. That sounds crazy. Or a lot of people go like, it's like opiates though, right? It's addictive. And I get the weirdest reactions from it, to tell you the truth. Like, I actually feel weird recommending it at all.
Right.
Because I'm almost like, I feel great on it and I don't think you're going to feel as great. So I'm, you know, like, I don't know. It's a weird, for me, it's a weird thing. Like, I know if somebody feels like me, they'll love it.
Right.
But if they're not like me, it's hard for me to recommend it. For example, my mom, she doesn't like to take anything, and she always says that nothing works, right? So like if nothing works, like I know she's going to try Kratom. She's going to be like, it made me sick and it didn't work. I know exactly what she's going to say. But if somebody comes to me and like, I'll give you a good example. My friend who was a writer, my friend Anthony, who was a writer and helped me on the Kratom movie actually, he had a double hip replacement surgery just like me, and he's also he's a journalist. I was like, hey, I want you to help me on this Kratom movie. And he's like, yeah, I've heard about that stuff. I've never really tried it. I'm like, well, look, you've had double hip replacement surgery. You were addicted to opiates. You know how that felt. Just try this. Let me know how you feel. And like, what was great was like, when I sent to him, I knew he was going to love it. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So like, it's just like you can, I'm sure Liz, you know, like, you know, when somebody's going to love it because you know if they're like you in a way, you know?
I've given it to people and they've felt nothing, and I've given it to other people and they've gotten sick. So you have to be really particular about who you give it to.
Like,
you're right.
Yeah, it's like, are you giving it to somebody like, I don't, there's some people are just such like wusses about what they take. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, I got so sick, or like, like, did you really, was it the Kratom?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't know. Like, it's like, you know, people will, like, my girlfriend, when she got on the ketogenic diet, would rave about the ketogenic diet. Like, it was, you know, for like the first 3 weeks of being on it, it's like, you know, she just found gold, you know what I mean? And I'm like, yeah, let's just stop and calm down. And like, some people are like that with Kratom or with anything, where they're, you know, too fired up about it. So I try to be realistic about it. I actually really, really love it though. So I don't know, like when I meet somebody who's like me in my situation, who's been in a lot of pain or had surgeries, I do get really overly excited about telling them about it, like that. Like, I'll give you some, you know?
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. Well, I think it's so sad that plant medicines there's not enough research into it. I mean, you have Rick Doblin with MAPS, and I've had Dennis McKenna on, who I'm sure you're familiar with, Dennis McKenna.
It's stupid that anything that's a plant, right? It's just a plant. Right? Like, let's just face it, it's a fucking plant. So it's a plant. Why? And marijuana's a plant, whatever. And like, nobody even cares about weed anymore. Like, so what are you gonna do? Start throwing people in jail for Kratom? Like,
well, that's the thing.
In the state of California, where I live, where I am, like, all the marijuana laws have been broken down. So are we gonna go backwards now and say, oh, now there's this new plant, and it's like opiates, but it's not addictive, but opiates are legal. But opiates are addictive, right? Like, there's no bad side. There's nothing worse. Kratom's not worse than what's already available, you know, through a doctor.
Yeah, but everything's addictive. I mean, there's so many. The thing about the addictive argument that drives me crazy is that caffeine's addictive, tobacco's addictive. I mean, alcohol's addictive.
There isn't any. I don't think there really is any good argument for addiction. Like, when people say, "Is it addictive?" and you're like, "Well." Addictive, there needs to be a different word. There needs to be a word like, is it a life ruiner? You know, like, no, but it's addictive. Like, is coffee a life ruiner? Like, I don't know what would be a good word for that, you know?
There should be stages.
Like, yeah, like, does it ruin your life? Like, alcohol, yes, it will ruin your life. Mm-hmm. You know, Kratom it won't ruin your life. Marijuana is like, maybe, I don't know, it depends on the person, right? Like, some people get lazy, but some people also get very creative, so like, who knows?
But I actually wanted both of your opinions on this, because this is I'm sure, are you familiar with Dr. Carl Hart and his research? and to, well, Dr. Carhart, he's actually been on the Rogan podcast a few times, and he's really interesting because he has this different perspective on addiction. And let me just really quickly tell you the story about this experiment on where it kind of explains his theory. So they had these mice, and they put, I think, cocaine in the water, and they had 2 waters, and they wanted to see how addictive it was, and they wanted to see if the mice would come back and drink that water. The mouse kept coming back to the cocaine, kept coming back, until it eventually died to the water with cocaine. Well, these Canadian, I don't know if he was a scientist or psychologist, but he looked at this experiment. He's like, there's a flaw in this experiment. He's like, you're using this experiment to decide that cocaine is addictive. Well, I think that cage has become a part of the experiment. It's a part of the experiment. So you have to factor in that cage. So what he did, he recreated the experiment, got this giant warehouse, and put like other mice and basically recreated its natural habitat. So, and then it could play and all this other stuff, and it could run around, and then recreate the same experiment. Put cocaine in the water, wanted to see if the mouse would come to the cocaine. It came to the water, drank it once, went away, never came back. Well, what we learned from this, was that it wasn't the cocaine that was making it come back. It was the fact that he was unhappy. He was in a cage. He had no other place to find happiness. That's why I stress the idea of community a lot, because I think I always kind of, I guess, dumb it down, or the idea of like, what's the point? What's the point of life living? In general. It's to pursue happiness. Like we hang out with friends that make us happy. We listen to music, Metallica or whatever that makes us happy. We drive fast cars if it makes us happy. We hang out, you date girls that make you happy. You also drink things that make you happy. You smoke things that make you happy. You take supplements that make you feel good. In other words, makes you happy. So when you don't have a place for happiness, when you're this mouse in this cage and you have no happiness, and this substance gives you fills in that emptiness, then all of a sudden you go back to it. And so I always make the argument, and Dr. Carl Hart I think would agree with me, that if it's all about how addictive a substance is, then if I sniff cocaine and you sniff cocaine, why would one of us possibly become an addict and the other one not? If it's just equally as addictive to everybody, I think it's because it has a lot to do with the person. It has to do with the individual. And would you agree with that? Would you both agree that we emphasize so much on the substance and maybe not so much on the individual?
Yeah, I think something that you said on Joe Rogan that really resonated. You said anybody can become an addict. It's just a matter of who can outrun it. And I think if the access to the drug matches up with a time in your life where you need it either mentally, emotionally, or physically, I think anyone can become an addict. I don't think it's
I'm just bored, like sometimes you're like, you know what, I just want to fast forward this day, or and that's how I would get, like, where and it goes to your Rat Park experiment that you're talking about. There's been points in my life where I wasn't connected, and that was the problem. And that's where the experiment that you were talking about, that mouse or that rat was now connected to other mice. It was connected to the outside world. And so as an addict, sometimes you just close in and you stay in your own apartment and your own place, and you just close everybody out. And that's sort of how I was. And in order to never go back there, I have to keep moving forward and be connected. And I think that being connected to my family and things like that, we lost my older brother Mad Dog. And when that happened, for a good 5 or 6 years, my family just didn't talk to each other. Nobody talked to each other. Nobody ever said anything about it. Everybody just stopped talking to each other. And then slowly it just started coming back together. And then one day my brother's like, hey, I bought the house next door. I'm moving my parents, and we just all started coming back together. And so I think that it just took a long time to heal from that. And so when you don't have those connections, it was easy for me to float off that path and go do drugs or go, and it was just it's so funny because I was well, I never did illegal drugs because I was always kind of, the way I was brought up, I was always scared to do illegal drugs. So I wasn't going to do cocaine or heroin, but hey, these pills are legal. It was the perfect escape for the all-American kid, who didn't want to grow up doing drugs or didn't want to be a drug addict, but sort of wanted to, escape his life a little bit, So it was, I don't know. For me, actually, I'm thankful that I went through it, because I went through something that 250 million other Americans are going through right now, and it's insane. We had 250 million prescriptions written, I think, last year for opiate painkillers. It's there's more. I think there's 6 states where there's more prescriptions written than there are people in the state. It's just it's become this monster. It's just taking over this entire generation and swallowing up all these kids, and no one really gives a shit, and everybody's on TV arguing about healthcare. They're arguing about North Korea and this and that. It's dude, people are dying every day from taking these stupid pills that they're just allowing to be made. And then even this year the DEA cut it down by 25%. It's still 75% too much. So they need to cut the amount of pills that they're making by a drastic number. These pills only need to be available in hospitals. This is a drug. OxyContin is a drug that should not be given to people to take home with them. It's too strong. It's just there are certain things where the government. It's okay for the government to say, hey, that could knock out an elephant. You can't have it. It's okay for our government to say that. And I think that that's fine. I think we need to start doing that. CVS Pharmacy. It needs to be applauded for the fact that they will no longer give prescriptions for opiates for more than 7 days, because they know that people don't need them. It's absolutely disgusting, right? So CVS is we're out of the opiate game, we're done. And that's awesome. I applaud them for doing that. And I think that they were the first people to do the same thing with cigarettes. So you know what? Sometimes these big conglomerate giant companies, they're not all that bad. They make some good choices sometimes.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, I think it's really sad.
Happened yesterday too, by the way, where they opted out of the opiate thing.
Yeah. Well, I know in your documentary you talked about how once they changed the way the capsules were for the painkillers, that you couldn't cut it up, so so
they lost 80% of their business.
Yeah, that's fucking crazy. And
I think that's just a testament to the fact that you've created these monsters, you've created these addicts. They were we didn't know people were going to crush it up. And my brother was saying that it's kind of, he's funny. He's if you work at those companies, well, we didn't know you were going to crush it up and snort it. And I'm yeah, but the problem is they did. The problem was the way that the way that those things get out to the public, are through people that are in the know. So it's people at the drug companies know these things. They knew people were going to crush it up and snort it. They knew people were going to crush it up and put it in liquid and inject it. They knew that when they made it. So, and they also knew that it's 1,000 times more. That when they made it, they also knew it was very addictive, and they told everybody that it wasn't. They told everybody it lasted for 12 hours and it only lasted for 4 hours. And so there's a lot of missteps by big pharma in causing this opiate epidemic. And I think that there's, to me, a lot of times people think oh, you're always attacking big pharma and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, this is one time where it's really is just their fault. There's nobody else involved.
Well, I've heard you talk about this story, and I've said this to my friends, and they didn't believe me about, I think it was Bayer who ended up having a pharmaceutical drug that was contaminated with the HIV virus, and they sent it overseas to France once they got banned in the U.S. And I mean, these stories sound like they're so outrageous they can't be real. And it's when people hear stories like that, it blows their mind, and I'm like, these people aren't ethical. These are public companies who, you're in for, just talking to you. I'm seeing you on podcasts and in interviews. You could tell you're in it for the right reasons. These big companies, I mean, they have suits and ties. They're looking at quarterly gains, and they're looking at how can we make more money? How can we make our profit, maximum profit? And they might not be evil in the sense that they're out to screw people, but they're just looking at ones and zeros and how to get maximum profit.
Yeah, I just I sort of just have fun examining all of it. I mean, I wish the process was faster. You know what I mean? The documentary world drives me nuts because it takes so long to do these things. But it's the only way to do it right, So hopefully, because this movie, we finished it basically, but it won't come out until probably about January, to tell you the truth, So that's my only beef with making movies is like the process is so long, But when you see the movie, because it took so long to actually make it, the process is all in the movie, and the movie feels like it took a year to make it. So it's really cool. I'm really proud of it.
Yeah, and that's the thing about these plant medicines. Like I was talking about Dennis McKenna, he's in this great documentary called Neurons to Nirvana, and it's all about MDMA. It's treating PTSD and all these great plants that have been, when you bring them up, MDMA, they, probably the same way when you bring up Kratom, they look at you like, oh, that's addictive or that's bad or whatever. But because it's been demonized, there's all these positive benefits to them that we're not exploring because the fear of it, and because the street version of it, or maybe somebody bought some really bad Kratom and then got sick and now they say Kratom's bad or whatever. And I think that plant medicines, Amber Lyons is another one who with Reset Me or whatever her website is, that really looks into it and pushes this. I think it's a great alternative, because in most cases, not in all cases, but in most cases, like in your experiences, it's not going to harm anybody. So if it doesn't hurt, then people should have that information so they can at least try it. And if it doesn't harm you, the people, and that's the most important thing. It's like what you're doing is get this information out. There's people with problems who
people that may get sick from it, right? And it's like, you know what? Nobody's going to die from it, right? And you're not going to get that sick from it. So, I never really worry about it too much. I just always say to people like, hey, just start slow, with anything like this. Like even with Kratom, I just say just take one pill. If you're sensitive, and that's like another thing people have to remember is like everything's dose dependent, right? Like you're not going to get sick if you just take a very little bit. So if people are sensitive, they just need to know that,
So if people are listening and they're like, what the fuck is Kratom? Where do I get it? Where do I start? Do you guys have some good companies that you would recommend and some places to start to get some information on it?
Yeah, I think if you Google Kratom Bible, there's a website, I forwarded it to you. It has all the information, because there's different colored leaves, there's different strains, there's different blends. They do completely different things, and I would definitely do research before maybe jumping in. And then as far as buying it from a place, either
I can make it pretty easy for you. Basically, she's been marketed to. They all do the same shit. I've talked to the top scientists in the world. They don't know that anything does anything different. They can't tell the difference between. They know that there is a white strain and a green strain and whatever, but they can't tell any different effects from any different strain. So when they sell the different strains, they just sell it as part of marketing. So that's like an easy way to tell people like, hey, if you think it does, like I hear people all the time like, this one's good for anxiety and this one's good for, energy. And it's like, yeah, maybe, it could be, but they're not really that sure. You know what I mean? They think maybe the Bali is more calming, maybe. And people are like, no, people are like, I swear to God. I'm like, well, I swear to God that there's no proof that otherwise it's just what, but it could be what they feel, what they think.
The placebo effects.
I would just say, just get whatever, do not buy any products that say not for human consumption. The company that I use, Urban Ice, that's their website is naturalorganics with an X on the end .com. They test all the products. I think Liz had some other companies that also test the products, right? You said there was like a list somewhere on that.
Yeah, I would highly recommend Soap Corner Botanicals with a K. I know they're really good and really care about what they're selling.
I think that's important, right? That the people care about, like, there's some people will be like, yeah, but I care, but I don't want to test it, because it's like a big process and it's like, screw the government. It's like, no, you're giving something for people to ingest. You need to test it. Like, it just has to be, I just don't see any other way to do it, so.
And you're giving ammo to all the Kratom, haters who are going to say, oh, there's no research, there's no studies. I mean, it was kind of like Alpha Brain and Rogan, how he ended up paying, some top dollars to get that stuff tested, because a lot of people were saying, oh, that Alpha Brain stuff's just marketing bullshit. It's all the placebo effect. So him and Aubrey Marcus actually tested it, and I think it's one of the few.
Their things was found to work, right? Like pretty effective or something like that.
Yeah, it was the only nootropic that they actually tested, and I forget which university it was. Some really obviously up there university who studied it and found that it actually improved your cognitive function. I take it. I mean, honestly, like hearing all the benefits of Kratom, I wonder if taking it with Kratom, if it's probably an ingredient that should be in Alpha Brain, because it seems like it would help with focus and so many things.
I took Alpha Brain and I never felt Alpha Brain. Like Kratom's the only supplement besides ephedrine, like I said, that I've ever felt. So
yeah.
I've taken Alpha Brain. I've really noticed no difference, but then again, like I don't know.
I think it's a mild thing.
They say, oh, take 10 times the amount that is on the label, and it's like, well, I can't afford to do that. You know?
Well, I think it's probably because the thing is, when you're doing tests, I mean, I don't know how. The fact that it works, I mean, it doesn't necessarily mean it makes a huge difference. It might just mean that, like, people who are, I mean, if you're doing,
you don't have to feel it for it to work either. That's like a big
that's
thing.
true. Absolutely.
Like, so for example, people go, well, what about CBD oil? That that works better than Kratom, right? And I'm like, no, I don't. Like with CBD oil, there's no like I don't feel it at all. Like I can't feel any difference with CBD oil. I've tried CBD oil like crazy, and I don't notice any difference in pain relief at all. Zero. So like when people are like swear by it, I'm like, I don't know, I there's something about Kratom, you actually feel good, and so then like I don't know. It's just such more like an opiate like effect, I guess, and that's probably what somebody in my situation needs,
Yeah,
with arthritis. So,
and like you said,
I'm not really sure about other people. I can't really speak for them, but for me, that's what does it. It makes you feel good.
Well, it's good because you do clarify that, which is important. Same thing when you clarify the keto diet. Like, I think a lot of times when people like something, it does become very like religion. Like every religion says, I have the truth with a capital T. Like everybody believes that their diet is the right diet, and it's, I hold the truth on what humans should be eating.
It's like the right diet for me.
Exactly. Yeah. So I think that's really important. The fact that you even say, like, this is my experience with Kratom. Not saying it's going to be everybody's experience, but if you've had such great experiences and people like Liz has had such great experiences with it, this information.
I don't really care what people eat. I don't care if they're vegan. I don't care if they eat animals all day. I don't care. But like, if you're metabolically sick, and I can see that, and I can see that you're sad because of it or you're depressed because of it, we can fix those things. And that's where I get into like, yeah, this diet is better for you. Like in your scenario, this diet would be a better diet for you, or like this way would be better for you,
Yeah.
So that's where I like to make those differences. Like you said, make a point to make a difference between each thing that you're doing,
Yeah, and I'm the same way. I've had people on who have different opinions on diets, but the one thing that they all seem to have in common is, cut out sugars and carbs as much as possible. And when you look at like just the epidemic of diabetes, cancer, and obviously, sugar is, cancer feeds.
I know people that are shredded in the gym, like just shredded, who are diabetic or pre-diabetic. And it's insane because they eat so much sugar, and they just think like, oh, because I'm in great shape, I can eat a lot of sugar. And a couple of my friends are like, they're in single digit body fat, they're pre-diabetic, and they have to watch their sugar now because they've eaten so much sugar because they were always so shredded that they didn't care about it. It's like, that's really odd to me. It's like, it shouldn't be that way.
Yeah, well, I think when you're working out that hard where you're shredded to that, you can kind of get away with it a little bit, but it is going to have some long-term effects.
Probably get away with it for a long time, and then it's just now they're in their 40s and it's catching up to them a little bit. So.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, I think there's been such propaganda about sugar not being an issue, and it really has been you know, the foundation of the obesity epidemic, and people that it was just one of those things like watch your fats, but don't worry about your sugar. So we would consume all the sugar and never really count it or pay attention to it, and it has hormonal effects on you. Obviously, if cancer feeds off it, so it just.
When I look at it, I was eating probably 50 grams of sugar a day easily, right? Just eating whatever I want. And now I just don't do that, right? So like now it's just I don't do that at all. So to me, I'm like, I don't have to do that every day of my life for the rest of my life, but not doing it for 6 out of the 7 days, it's probably going to really improve my health markers, And so like that, I aim for like 80% perfection on the diet, I try to aim for 100%, but you every once in a while you're gonna be in a situation where you're just gonna go off your diet,
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with that. I think a lot of people feel guilty because of that, and I don't call them cheat days anymore or cheat meals. I call them reward meals. I'm like, okay,
there's something way wrong about like the whole cheat meal system,
Yeah. But I think I think calling it a reward, and not just that food, when you do end up cheating, is gonna taste better because you did deprive yourself of it. Maybe
I don't like any of the food anymore though. Like after you do keto for a while, you end up going like like you'll have a pizza and you're like, that sucks.
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
It's like, unless it's the best pizza you've ever had. Like there's a couple things where I'm like, that's a really good cheat. But it's very few and far between now. Like there's nothing. Like I used to just think things were so good, like a donut from Dunkin' Donuts or something. And now I'm like, oh my God, it's so gross. Or, I don't know. Things have not, like sugar is not something I really crave as much anymore. So it's like, I don't know. When you do the ketogenic diet for more than 3 months, you lose any association you have with like food and like that weird relationship that you have with it, where you're. Yeah, I think
you don't desire it. Yeah, you don't desire it as much anymore. My wife, Liz knows my wife. She could literally, she's Italian, she could eat pasta every day of her life. And she was seeing me go to the gym less. We have 2 kids, so I was going to the gym less. I'm like, I really got to get stricter with this ketogenic diet because I'm not going to the gym as much, so I'm going to start gaining weight. So I got stricter, and she saw me getting leaner and losing weight, and she's like, what are you doing? She's like, how are you eating sausage and
a ton too.
Yeah, and she's like, and you're getting leaner. So, and then she started doing it. And then I remember when she first started doing it, she was losing all this weight. And then she's like, you know what? Let's go out to dinner. Let's get a babysitter. And I'm going to eat a big bowl of pasta. She's like, I earned it. I'm like, okay, let's do it. But I'm like, I'm telling you, your body is probably not going to enjoy it. And we went out to eat. She ordered pasta. She took like 2 bites and she's like, I'm full. I can't eat anymore. She's like, I don't like the way I feel.
Disgusted too.
Yeah. So it's amazing how your body will not reject it, and you don't miss that shitty feeling, that feeling of being bloated and your brain's foggy.
I would just like everybody to give it a shot. You know what I mean? Like I just think that everybody, like I think everybody in the world, like if we have, if we just took a week to say, okay, like this week we're gonna eat no sugar. Like we have National No Sugar Week or whatever. Like we're gonna eat no sugar this week, and like get people to stick to it. Like that would be a great movement, just to get people to try it and see how they feel. And then when all these people go like, I've never tried that before, and now I feel great, then like that's the start of a movement,
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Well, I don't want to take up too much of your time because it's a Friday, and
I'm to the next thing over here. We'll see what's up.
But I wanted to see if Liz, do you have any other questions that you wanted to hit on with the Kratom? Any other things? Obviously, you guys are much more knowledgeable with the topic. Is there anything that we haven't hit? Maybe you would want to.
I don't think any more questions. I do want to say thank you for all you've done in bringing awareness and kind of bringing it out from the shadows and saving people's lives, really.
And just so you know, everything I'm trying to do with Kratom is just positive, just to help people understand it more, to get it out there more. It's not really like to promote any one company or whatever. I want all the companies to conform, to the standards. And I'm supportive of anybody who wants to conform to the standards and do the right thing. And if there's some reason why that maybe is the wrong way to be thinking, then I'd like to know that also. But just don't think it is. So we just like to get everybody to test their products and put out safe and effective products.
Yeah, absolutely.
And Chris's documentaries, if you haven't seen them, Bigger, Faster, Stronger is a classic. You have Trophy Kids, which is awesome too. If you're a parent, it's definitely really interesting. Make sure you don't turn into one of those parents that you see in the film. And then you have Prescription Thugs, which is an amazing story, not just about the pharmaceutical epidemic, but really your personal story too. Is, you know, you always add a little bit of your own personal story in there, which I love. And then your new films, the Kratom film sounds like which I love. I love that title. I know when you're on the Rogan podcast, you're like, I don't know if I'm going to keep it, but I seen, you know, I like Leap of Faith, and I love that. That's a really creative title. And so that, you said it's coming out early next year.
It'll be out probably it'll be out in like January, February area-ish. So that's where we're aiming right now. So
on Netflix, where is that going to be available?
I will let everybody know. There's a couple things up in the air right now that I can't talk about yet, but you know, it'll be good. I mean, everybody's going to see it. Put it that way. It'll be
available.
Well received and well seen. So
yeah. And then your keto film, is that also something that's coming out next year, possibly? Your keto film, is that also coming out next year?
That we just started on that, so there's no
timetable.
I haven't even really filmed anything yet, so.
Well, I love the idea, and I think you know, hats off, like I said, to the topics that you hit. I think that you're I mean, I named this the Ripple Effect Podcast because I believe that all of us can make an impact on people's lives, and we can all start our own ripple. And you, by far, have started a huge ripple and affected many people's lives.
Thanks, buddy.
Thanks, Chris. Hey, you too. Hey, once the films come out, we'll have you back on and talk about them.
I would love it, man. Talk to you soon.
Thanks, Chris.
Bye.
Take care.
Later.
I believe in the ripple effect.